All right, welcome in, guys. Farzin Vasugan here with you for a bonus live stream tonight. Hopefully, my voice is all right or sounds good. My voice is shot; it is gone for very obvious reasons. But nonetheless, here we are, Super Bowl 58. The stage is set. The Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, that's right. The Kansas City Chiefs, the same Kansas City Chiefs that everyone said was going to be one and done. They will be playing against the San Francisco 49ers. They met 4 years ago in Super Bowl 54. And now we have a rematch. This time, instead of Jimmy G, it is going to be Brock Purdy being the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. Okay. All right. Let's call it what you want. Call it the Alex Smith Bowl, Joe Montana Bowl. Who else? There are like two other quarterbacks I'm forgetting. But nonetheless, that is going to be your quarterback matchup for Super Bowl 58. And in exactly 2 weeks at this exact time, we will know who will be the winner, who will hoist, I should say, the Lombardi Trophy. I'm looking forward to it. I think the 49ers are the better team. I've been telling you guys this entire postseason run that I want the better team. I didn't want the Steelers. I didn't want the Texans at home. I wanted to go on the road, get the tougher teams, and that's exactly what Kansas City got this entire postseason. No easy teams to get to the Lombardi. That is Kansas City's path to winning Super Bowl 58. All tough teams, even at home. I mean, the Dolphins, they even though they were banged up on defense, a lot of people thought that offense was going to be too much for Kansas City's defense. And the Bills, a lot of people thought the Bills would finally get that win over the Chiefs and that Josh Allen would be too much for the Chiefs defense. Not the case. This time people thought the Ravens were going to be too much for the Chiefs. And now the Chiefs, if they want it, they've got to beat this team. This is the team that's standing in their way ahead of that Super Bowl 58 trophy, and that is the San Francisco 49ers. So I'm excited. This is going to be a great one here. Chiefs, 49ers, like I said, is going to be a rematch, and obviously a lot of differences. 49ers have a different quarterback this time around, also a different running back this time around. Whereas the Chiefs, a lot of new faces in the pass catching department, specifically with the wide receivers. No Tyreek Hill, no Sammy Watkins, McCole Hardman, the only guy who I can think of that was on the team in 2019. Well, technically February of 2020. That's still with the team now. By the way, someone just commented and said the last time these two teams played, it was right before the pandemic. So, oh boy, you guys have to just start, don't you? On a good day like today, we have to do this shit. Come on, let's be positive here. You know, that was before masks and all that bullshit. Anyway, my immediate thoughts with this game, because I was looking at Brandon Ayuk, and obviously I focus more on AFC teams than I do NFC teams, so I kind of had to look up Brandon Ayuk a little bit. I didn't realize this. He was a rookie the last time the Chiefs saw him in the Super Bowl. In where was that Super Bowl? Miami? Yeah, I think it was I can't even keep track anymore of where which Super Bowl was, because Chiefs have been to so damn many of them. By the way, no, I take that back. He was drafted in 2020, not 2019. So the Chiefs have not seen him in a Super Bowl before. And obviously, this is someone who was taken in the first round, kind of got off to a slow start, but his level of play has really gone up every single year. Had 748 yards his rookie year, 826 the following year, then became a 1,000-yard receiver last season, and this year had more than 1,300 yards. So his production has really gone up, and this is an offense that already has Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and even Christian McCaffrey, who they use a lot in the passing game. So, you know, I said this about when the Chiefs were going up against the Bengals. I said this when the Chiefs were going up against the Bills. Also the Dolphins in the playoffs, but just seems like, you know, the further you get, the more you end up saying this, but this is by far the deepest offense the Chiefs will face. You know, I think Baltimore had some really good receivers, but not the best quarterback to go up against in a passing situation. By the way, I don't know if you guys saw Odell Beckham Sr. I don't know if this is a real account, but a lot of people think it is. He lashed out and said that his son deserves a better quarterback and essentially blamed Lamar Jackson for the loss against the Chiefs today. So, yeah, interesting. Always interesting when the parents always tweet things like that. So, That's always interesting to see. But nonetheless, the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl against this 49ers team. Very stacked offense here. Ayuk led the team in touchdown catches with 7. Deebo Samuel also had 7. Christian McCaffrey had 7. Like I said, I mean, this is really, even a guy like Ray McLeod III, Kyle Juszczyk, who's a fullback, guys who they use a lot. And I know there's a lot of criticism with Brock Purdy. I've never understood the criticism with Brock Purdy. I really haven't. I mean, the 49ers, yeah, they lost in the NFC title game last year, but that's because they lost their starting quarterback and their backup, and they were using a wide receiver at one point for a few snaps. And they brought in one of the injured backup quarterbacks just to essentially hand off the ball rest of the game. So, 49ers fans have been saying for a long time, if they have a healthy Brock Purdy, then they've got a good shot at making it to the Super Bowl, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now. I think my biggest concern with the Chiefs, and I say this every time, but the Chiefs always prove me wrong doing this, it is going up against Christian McCaffrey in the running game because, Charles Omenihu, who former San Francisco 49er, he just tweeted the handshake emoji. So, obviously his former team he'll be going up against in 2 weeks. So should be interesting. But where was I? Oh yeah, Christian McCaffrey, who phenomenal season. I think he is second right behind Lamar Jackson for the MVP. Yes, the same Lamar Jackson who the Chiefs absolutely demolished in today's game. But I think ultimately what I want to see from this Chiefs defense, essentially the same thing. I've always had my reservations with this Chiefs defense against the run because that is their weak point, but they seem to always step it up, especially today. I mean, yeah, the Ravens were able to run the ball here and there, but the Ravens were not able to unleash and go off for big games against the Chiefs. They just didn't do that. Even last week, with Josh Allen being as good as he is running the football, and that was a huge deal going into that game. And you lose Willie Gay, who is a key part of your QB spy package. They still did not allow a play longer than 18 yards last week in the divisional round. So that right there, to me, and by the way, I'm trying to pull up the Ravens stat sheet real quickly to look something up, but this Chiefs defense, they've got to be much better about it, because this is the best team you're going to be facing, obviously, because this is the Super Bowl. Unlike the Ravens, I'll say this about the Ravens, as great as their season was, this is a heavily one-dimensional offense. And I said that coming into the game. If you can stop on first and second down with which the Chiefs did, then what happens? You're forcing the Ravens to throw a lot. And it was not a good day for Lamar Jackson throwing the football. He had 272 yards. That's nice. He got a lot of those in the fourth quarter when the Chiefs were in their prevent defense, not allowing the big passing plays and allowing all of the short yardage passing completions or runs in that situation. Yeah, the Ravens ran 16 times for 81 yards, which surprised me. Teams have not had an issue running the football, and go check all the yard per carry averages. Look back at the Germany game between the Dolphins and Chiefs. The Dolphins were actually cruising and coming back in that football game, and their running game was a big reason for that. But for whatever reason, they chose to shy away from that in the last 2 minutes, which could have been a big difference maker. But ultimately, the Chiefs found a way to win that football game. And even though they've gone up against some good rush offenses, they found a way to limit them and make essentially silence them and force them to pass deep. The Chiefs have done such a good job about creating these third and long situations where it gets to the point that a lot of times these quarterbacks, and they showed it today in the all 22 replay in the Chiefs Ravens game. There was one point where Lamar Jackson was scrambling out of the pocket, couldn't find anyone, was trying to hold on to the ball until he felt like he could release it, but he couldn't, because every single pass catcher, all 5 of them for the Ravens, were covered very well. And as much as Lamar Jackson tried to extend the play, no one was getting open. And I think that was the one where he got sacked by Tershawn Wharton. I would have to go back and look. I haven't had a chance to rewatch the game because I was just watching the NFC title game. So this to me is one of those situations where if you're the Chiefs, you've got to create problems on first and second downs and go out there and force third and long situations. That would be huge for Kansas City's defense. Gary's asking an update on Charles Omenihu. So he's going to get an MRI tomorrow on his knee, but he was very adamant that he would play, kind of like Isaiah Pacheco this week. He was listed as questionable, and that's a big reason for that, by the way, is because the probable injury designation that no longer exists anymore. I don't know why, kind of silly rule that they made, but he was very adamant that he was going to be playing in this football game. So Charles Omenihu was pretty much the he feels like he's going to play. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Matt just mentioned got 2 weeks to heal. That's a huge part right there. And by the way, I was having this conversation with my dad because he mentioned that the Chiefs did not have a bye week and the Ravens did. Listen, that's huge to beat a team that had a bye week, but the Chiefs kind of had their own de facto bye week in a way, a self-imposed bye week with that Week 18 game. I know everybody, including me, wanted to see the Chiefs, or specifically Travis Kelce, get the 16 yards, but man, it's kind of obvious if you're putting a guy out there just to get 16 yards, the defense is going to be closing in on him, and you never know if there's going to be some sort of hit that just hurts him on the first or second play. Instead, Travis Kelce got a couple of other records today. He tied Jerry Rice for most 100-yard receiving games in NFL postseason history, and he surpassed Jerry Rice for most receptions in NFL postseason history. So at the end of the day, you know, the whole record thing, that's a regular season record. He's done it so many times. He got some postseason records for it. So it is all good. Michael's mentioning Willie Gay and Joe Thuney. Look, that's huge. I agree with you. By the way, I don't know if you guys saw Nick Allegretti. He did an interview after the game talking about how he got all the support from Chiefs fans on Twitter because he never wants to open Twitter, but he just happened to this week, and he just saw nothing but support from Chiefs fans and his family. He kind of felt like he had pressure because his family was going to be out for this one since he knew he was going to start. And the guy like broke into tears, man. Good for him. I mean, there are a lot of backups to accept their roles, and good on those people because everyone wants to play. No one wants to be a backup. But man, he stepped up whenever the Chiefs called his number this week and said that he's going to be starting. And what a story. So pretty cool for that guy to get that opportunity, and really did well, I thought, Nick Allegretti. So if Joe Thuney is unavailable, hopefully Nick Allegretti can continue to do what he did in this one. Chiefs offensive line has played really better than I expected this postseason. Everyone keeps talking about how the receivers can't catch and how the tackles can't block. And then you have a big void with your all-pro Joe Thuney injured, missing this game. Well, the tackles played just fine. Yeah, Jawan Taylor had a penalty. Trey Smith had a couple of penalties. So what? I mean, a lot of offensive linemen commit penalties. You look at MVS, had that major catch in the end there. This Chiefs offense has been playing a lot better. And I know a lot of people want to focus on the fact that the Chiefs offense did not score in the second half. I mean, what does that say about the rest of the teams? I mean, the Chiefs went out there and got the job done. Lamar Jackson, the Ravens should have tied it and probably should have won it. But nope, Zay Flowers, life comes at you fast. And L'Jarius Sneed, I still can't get off. I've watched that like 20 times already. LJ Sneed, that dude probably added an extra digit to his little contract negotiation there. Yeah, plays like that on a contract year, you're earning a lot from that. Hopefully it's here in Kansas City, man, because I do not want to see that guy go. Also, even Gronk, he was on Kay Adams' show, and he said that even in his prime, he would not want to go up against L'Jarius Sneed. That's how highly everyone thinks of LJ Sneed. Okay, we've spent a lot of time talking about the Chiefs' defense against this 49ers offense. We got to now flip it over and talk about the 49ers defense because they've got a very good defense, no joke. Fred Warner, a very good linebacker. And then obviously Charvarius Ward, a former Chiefs cornerback. A lot of people know Nick Bosa. A lot of Chiefs fans familiar with his family member, Joey Bosa, in Kansas City. Those pass rushers always make the biggest difference. I will say this, as great as Nick Bosa is, outside of him, they really don't have a marquee pass rusher. Yeah, Javon Hargrave, he's good. He had 7 sacks on the year. Eric Armstead. Is Eric Armstead going to be playing next week? Yeah, he will. He should be. He had 5 sacks, and then you have a few other players who had 3.5, 2.5 sacks. So there's not a lot of there aren't a lot of guys on this 49ers front that really scare the shit out of me. So if the Chiefs can devise a game plan, and for whatever reason they struggle doing this sometimes, they struggle with this against Trey Hendrickson, but they did make adjustments and were better about it. But they should have had it ready earlier in the game. Put extra pass blockers right there. Blake Bell has been used a lot this postseason, more than I anticipated him to be used. And they've been using him for pass blocking situations, even some run blocking situations too. Unfortunately, that didn't work out too well today. But you're still seeing a lot of Blake Bell in the postseason. And let me just say this too, by the way, because I feel like that Ravens defense, that is the best defense you will face. Don't get me wrong. I think the 49ers defense is very good. It can create some problems for the Chiefs offense, but I don't think they're as good as the Ravens defense. And Patrick Mahomes, he has played very good football in the postseason. He's not lighting them up, but the most important thing to me was taking care of the football. Kansas City's done a good job. Oh, by the way, I made an error on the podcast today. I said the Chiefs' only turnover was a Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumble. That was a mistake. Obviously, and I can't believe I forgot this, Mecole Hardman, he did fumble at the 1-yard line, as a lot of people remember in that Bills game. So didn't see much of Mecole Hardman today. I know he was on the field, but didn't play any snaps in this game. So people are asking where the haters at. Yeah, where are they at? Man, they are so loud and so vocal going into a Chiefs game. And then whenever the Chiefs win, they're nowhere to be found. Crazy. Imagine that. Look, the comment Gabriel has here about time management, I do want to make a point about this, because in today's game, the Chiefs dominated time of possession in this football game. 37 minutes and 30 seconds versus 22 minutes and 30 seconds. Now, unfortunately, the Chiefs didn't score more when they should have. But in this game, in these situations, Buffalo last week, they dominated time of possession. They tried to control the football and keep Patrick Mahomes on the sidelines. Yet, for whatever reason, the Bills only had 7 more yards than the Chiefs did, and they ran way more plays. You look at Cincinnati, they actually dominated time of possession as well, especially when they were up 17-7. They were doing the whole like small ball deal, the short passes, check downs, running with Joe Mixon, and it was working very well for them, but they decided to shy away from that, and that's when you saw the Chiefs just pretty much use Harrison Butker the rest of the game. But obviously their offense still did some things to get into field goal range to be able to get those 5 field goals there. So I'm just looking at the Chiefs from this perspective of, if you can, you know what the Chiefs are going to do if they win the coin toss. They will always defer. That's just what Andy Reid does. I think Nate Taylor, he always tweets, the Chiefs won the coin toss. You know what happens next, because Andy Reid has never elected to receive an opening kickoff ever. That's just his MO. That's just the way he's done things. And by the way, I know a lot of people are going to look at the Ravens stats. Like, for example, the Ravens were 3 of 11 on third down passing today. Throw that stat out the window, because that doesn't mean jack shit going into not next week. Chiefs are not in the Pro Bowl. Doesn't mean anything in 2 weeks, because that Ravens pass offense doesn't even compare to a lot of the other pass offenses from teams you're seeing in the playoffs here. Again, I know people have their criticism of Brock Purdy's, which I don't really understand it sometimes. I really don't. But this is a team that I definitely will be ready on third down situations, and that's just the way they've been. Brock Purdy, I mean, the guy I feel like is an MVP candidate, a legit MVP candidate. I don't know why people like to discredit the guy. Kind of reminds me of Mahomes. Whenever this guy goes out and proves people wrong, people always want to find one tiny thing, or they'll just complain about the refs. Even though the refs called a good game, they'll just complain about something and not want to give credit to the guy. I don't understand it. I've never understood it. So at the end of the day, I think this is going to be a good quarterback showdown. Brock Purdy and Patrick Mahomes. I think you got 2 good running backs in this game, in McCaffrey and Pacheco. And as far as pass catchers go, the 49ers definitely have the edge on that. I think the 49ers do have a very good pass rusher in Nick Bosa. He might be the best pass rusher in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks, but I think the Chiefs overall have the better unit, the better pass rushing unit with Chris Jones, George Karlaftis, Charles Omenihu, who went out there and got a huge strip sack on Lamar Jackson. Those to me, it will bode a long way for the Chiefs in a couple of weeks. So I'm very excited to see how this Chiefs team does going up against this 49ers team. A lot to be excited about, of course. So I'm excited, man. I really am. Listen, I do want to talk about the Lions for a second because I think they had a great season. And I said before the Super Bowl, I had them going into the NFC title game. And I think I had them losing to Philadelphia. Yeah, I think I picked Philadelphia. I think I picked a Super Bowl rematch. Not the 4 years ago rematch, last year's rematch. Look, I think the Lions had a tremendous season. I know this is a team that's gone through a lot of shit. Like, you think about the Chiefs, what they went through with their 22-year playoff drought, what they went through in the 70s and 80s. We had a caller that even brought that up on the podcast after the game. But that is a really, really, really shitty way to end the season. And I think the problem with Dan Campbell, I forgot his name for a moment. I think the problem with Dan Campbell is he's too aggressive, and that can come back to bite you. I don't know if that's an ego thing or what, but to me, that's what got Brandon Staley in so much trouble. And I think Brandon Staley did a great job up until last year, week 18, where you played your starters for absolutely no reason, and then you blew a big lead in the playoff game against Jacksonville. So for me, I think the Lions, they're going to be back. The Lions are going to be a team that's going to compete for a very long time. Obviously, they started the season with a monstrous win. At the time, that was probably considered the biggest game in Lions history in 3 decades. Now, obviously, these last 2 playoff games have certainly been more monumental, but to blow a big lead like that, and listen, Kansas City's been there. I mean, not that any of us want to relive it. We like to erase that from our memories, but the Chiefs have been there with these blown leads in the playoffs. And to me, I think what happens a lot of times is there's overconfidence in these games. Anyone that says these guys are pros, they don't get overconfident, bullshit. Hold on. Let me pull up something here. Let me show you guys something, because this was CJ Gardner-Johnson. He's waving to the fans, taunting them. He thought the game was over. And that is right before halftime. So this is, I think what happens, and I've said this about the Chiefs many times, is the overconfidence. You think you've won. You think you're advancing. By the way, Chiefs 49ers Super Bowl, what happened 4 years ago? 49ers were up by 10, and they had the game pretty much locked down. But you saw the celebration, and then you saw the defense step it up, and then you saw the Chiefs surge and come back. The Chiefs scored 21 unanswered points to win the Super Bowl to close out the game and win their first Super Bowl in 50 years. But yet 49ers fans, instead of focusing on the fact that they had a 10-point lead, they just want to blame the refs and all that kind of bullshit. So Sandy says the way Tucker was taunting in the warm-up, I don't think he was taunting necessarily. Look, I'll say what I said during the podcast. I don't care who the home team is. I don't care who the away team is. If you look, kickers, so for those of you who don't go to football games early, kickers, punters, and long snappers, they get to the field pretty early. Usually see them before the running backs and tight ends and receivers, linebackers, defensive, whatever. They all come into the field in different groups. But to me, it's like, first of all, that little kicking thing that serves as a holder, why is that at the 1 yard line? Because I know for a fact no one's practicing kicks from the 1 yard line. Nobody. And you got 2 footballs sitting there. You got a helmet sitting there. That's generally where quarterbacks are doing their pregame warmups. And if it's not quarterbacks, someone else is there. So I have zero issue with Travis Kelce grabbing his shit and tossing it to the sidelines. And then I think someone brought it back and Kelce went and got it back up and Mahomes kicked one of the balls. It's like, come on, man. What are you trying to do here? You really want to poke the bear because it doesn't work against Kansas City. It just doesn't. So, by the way, fun fact about Allegiant Stadium, there is a Chiefs flag that is buried right in the middle of that field. Oh, and another fun fact, Kansas City is undefeated in Allegiant Stadium, 4-0 in the Raiders' house. By the way, you know what's really going to piss off Raiders fans? Number one, the Chiefs will have played more playoff games at Allegiant Stadium than the Raiders. Imagine that. You cannot script this any better. The Raiders have yet to play a playoff game at Allegiant Stadium. The Chiefs will do it before them. Oh, and you want to know another really cool thing? They're going to cover up the end zone that says Raiders on it, and they're going to replace it with the word Chiefs. And they're going to put a Chiefs logo on the side. That's how fucking cool that's going to be. Raiders fans, I know you guys were on my page flexing about that Christmas Day victory. Keep flexing. We'll be flexing with an actual Super Bowl on your own home turf. God, if I was a Raiders fan, my skin would boil, man. You cannot tell me Raiders. Hold on. I'm already seeing Raiders fans even bring it up. Look at this Raiders fan. Chiefs winning a Super Bowl in our own stadium would truly be the worst thing that could happen to the Raiders. So they're not hiding from it. I mean, listen, win or lose, I even said it coming into this weekend's game. Win or lose, I'm proud of the Chiefs for how far they've made it. Now they're playing a Super Bowl in Allegiant Stadium before the Raiders could get a playoff game at home, man. Listen, the Raiders have no one to blame but themselves. All those blown leads last year with Derek Carr before he quit on his own team like a coward. And then this year, I don't even know what the game plan was for the Raiders. Sure, they got a gimme win. By the way, I'll say it right now. Antonio Pierce is not him. He's not the guy. He's not. Sure, you want a few games, but is that anything to be proud of this year? I mean, seriously, what did Antonio Pierce do that was so good? Beat the Chiefs? Okay. Well, how'd you do offensively? The reason you won that game, and listen, you won it fair and square. You won it, though, because Mahomes played shitty football for a span of 7 seconds, and that was enough to get the win. So, Dan Campbell crying at his post-game presser, shit, man. That dude's an emotional guy. So, look, I said it, man. The Chiefs have been in that situation where they have those big leads in the playoffs. No one's ever going to forget that Indianapolis game, man. I remember, I think the Eagles were playing after that. Yet, I didn't even want to watch the Eagles game after that. I did not want to see any kind of football whatsoever. I was disgusted. Antonio Pierce better than Josh McDaniels. Okay. That's like saying McDonald's is better than Burger King. I mean, it's two shitty fast food restaurants. That's what Antonio Pierce and Josh McDaniels are. Listen, I know a lot of Raiders fans are thrilled about Antonio Pierce, but I'm telling you right now, I'll give it a year and a half, and that's being generous, very generous. I'll give it a year and a half before Raiders fans are calling for his job. Because that's just what they do in Oakland and in Vegas. They're excited. They think someone's gonna lead them to the promised land. They keep saying every year is their year, and then the guy who they trusted, they want him fired within 2 years. So, okay, I did not address this on the podcast. Sandy's asking, was that recording of Kadarius Toney real? Okay, for those who have no idea what I'm talking about. Kadarius Toney, he was ruled out for this game because of a hip injury, and then the Chiefs put another note mentioning there was a personal reason why he was not going to be at the game. It turned out that Kadarius Toney and his family welcomed a baby girl to the world, so congratulations to KT and his family. However, there is a video that surfaced about him. And by the way, you cannot see, it's an Instagram live video, but you can't see anyone. So I don't know if he's just covering the screen or if it's a very dark room or what's going on. But excuse me, it's a very NSFW video. And he basically is saying that the Chiefs are lying about the injury report. And he's claiming that he's not actually injured. Listen, I know he deactivated his account, but then he brought it back. Here's my question. If you and your family just brought a baby girl to the world, where exactly are your priorities that you feel the need to do an Instagram live video and then address the injuries? I mean, where do your priorities lie there? I mean, I'm not a parent, but I don't think it takes a parent to know, like, your hands are probably full in that moment. Like, the last thing you need to do is go on social media, because Kadarius Toney gets a lot of heat from fans. Giants fans are not letting it go. I mean, any opportunity Giants fans get to troll him, they do it. Chiefs fans, they have not been very kind to Kadarius Toney this year. So I don't know why on the day of your birthday and the birth of your child, you're doing an Instagram live broadcast. Now, again, I don't know if there's any proof of that. I have yet to listen to Andy Reid's press conference. I'm actually going to go start listening to that now. But geez, man, I think, I mean, if the NFL looks into that, they might actually investigate the Chiefs situation and figure out what exactly is going on with KT. Because listen, at this point, I do agree that he's in the doghouse. I don't think he's really inactive because he's hurt. The guy is just in the doghouse. He is. And is anyone like losing sleep over it? I don't know. I like the guy. I think the guy has a tremendous skill set. When he came into Kansas City last year, that guy, I mean, he looked great. And I keep comparing him to Josh Gordon because Josh Gordon was on the team for a year and a half, and he could not pick up this offense at all. He struggled immensely. Kadarius Toney came in mid-season, and he just picked it up like he's been running this, just been with this offense for years. Brett Veach even alluded to that going into the draft this past offseason. So now he comes into the season, he has those drops. He goes through all this shit and he cannot recover whatsoever. He only had one touchdown. His yard per catch average is severely low. Like, it's bad for a guy who has the skill set and speed that he has. So I don't know, man. I mean, at this point, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of you guys are even saying it in the chat here. I don't know if I care anymore for him to come back. Do I think he's going to get another opportunity elsewhere? Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be on a Super Bowl contending team. I don't. I really don't. It's kind of at the point now where, yeah, your skill set's great, but if you're constantly giving attention to people online, the guy was calling Pat McAfee a clown for criticizing him for the drop passes. Well, I mean, is he wrong? I know a lot of times people want to push back against criticism in the media, but it's like, man, I don't think they're wrong for this. By the way, Dallas says we all owe MVS an apology. Yes. And I've already given him his flowers. I've already apologized. But at the time, the criticism about MVS was not invalid. It was all very valid. So this is a guy that Kadarius Toney, that is. I mean, is he worth the headache? Listen, unfortunately, the Chiefs have dealt with a lot of bad PR lately. In the last like 5, 6, 7 years, like the Kareem Hunt one, that was just a really shitty situation for everybody involved. Andy Reid's son, we all know what happened there. And there are several others here. It's kind of getting to the point now, and I think there were some things behind closed doors going on with Tyreek Hill that didn't get out until after the trade. None of that been confirmed, but nonetheless, it has been out there. It's kind of to the point where now we're like with Andy Reid, and I don't know if Andy Reid's going to continue coaching or what. We'll find out, but I think still ultimately, this guy's not worth the headache. He's really not. His skill set, yeah, hard to replace, but if you can't catch the ball, the rest of your skills don't really matter. So he's probably very replaceable in the draft. Man, if you just watch college football on Saturdays, there are a shit ton of receivers who make awesome receptions, awesome catches, impressing all these scouts. You can get these guys replaced easily in the draft. 100%. John says availability is the number one ability. Yeah, this is the truest thing ever, John. And I'm not going to read the rest of the comment because I get the idea there. Look, I've said this about Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is a great quarterback, but if you're not available, what does it matter? You know, I know Bengals fans are saying, well, every time Joe Burrow's been healthy, the Bengals make the AFC title game. Okay. But he's not available all the time. He had a season-ending injury his rookie year. He started the year hurt, and he got hurt during the season. That is not good for a guy you just paid a shit ton of money to. And they also paid Orlando Brown the highest guaranteed deal ever. And he just led the league in pressures allowed. So, yeah, availability is the best ability, man. Listen, there are a lot of guys who get hurt but have tremendous skill sets. But if you're hurt, man, who cares about those skill sets? Did Kelce break 2 records today? So he broke the record for most receptions in postseason history, and he tied Jerry Rice for most 100-yard playoff games. So he can break it with one more, hold it solely with one more 100-yard performance. Man, let's talk about Travis Kelce for a second while we're here. Remember when he went to the World Series? So many people shit on the guy for attending that game. And it's like, man, the guy's flying on a charter flight. Like, it's not like he's staying the night in Houston or wherever it was. And then, going to Southwest Airlines the next day. No, the guy came back home the same night. People forget that sometimes about these celebrities, as they do have very easy access. I mean, they can go anywhere they want to within a moment's notice, essentially. So let's not forget about that. And then his relationship with Taylor Swift, and people holding the Pfizer commercial against him. People saying, oh, this guy cares more about being in commercials than he does playing football. He cares more about his girlfriend than he does playing football. Well, those people haven't been able to say anything at all about Kelce's performance recently. The guy's been playing lights out. And listen, man, I feel bad for those people because while they focus on hating so much and jealousy, essentially, we're over here witnessing greatness. Listen, I don't know when Travis Kelce's going to retire. I've had my thoughts on that. I know he talked about injuries in the Wall Street Journal interview. If the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, I will give it a 50-50 chance that Kelce could retire. Because that is a legitimate thing. Listen, people think that he's going to retire with his brother. I don't think that's anything that those guys care about. And maybe they do it. Maybe they don't. I don't know. But Kelce keeps saying he wants to keep playing for a long time. And I believe that. I believe that he wants to continue playing. So I don't think his retirement priorities are in line with his making sure it's with his brothers. The guy has a big passion for the game, and he's always been a team first guy. So I trust that Kelce will try to play as much as possible. But if the Chiefs do win a Super Bowl, man, what a good way to ride off into the sunset, especially with everything going on in his life the last 12 months. You definitely want to go off on a high note. So he's got that opportunity for sure. I don't know. I heard about his half brother. I posted about it as well, but I don't know all the details with that kind of thing. Richie James has done a wonderful job on punt returns. No need for KT anymore. Yeah. Which is sad because I like KT as a returner. We all remember what he did in the Super Bowl. So, it's unfortunate that he's just kind of, he's been dealing with all that. But yeah, he's not worth the headache anymore. Yeah, I do agree, though. Richie James, I think, has done a good job as a punt returner. And listen, it is hard to be a return specialist today in the NFL with all the rules and all these other things that come into play. And I think Richie James, he's not bad. Just protect the damn football. That's all I care about. Yeah, let me quickly look at the betting, the line for Good old Super Bowl 58, man. Man, I'm excited, man. Chiefs are going back to the Super Bowl. The 49ers are 1-point favorites. As far as money line goes, 49ers minus 118, Chiefs minus 102. I'm excited to see that change a lot as the next 14 days unfold. So that'll be a lot of fun to talk about. Yeah, should be a lot of fun. Man, where are the haters? Where are they? Real question. If Reed does retire soon, is Spags an automatic choice for a head coaching spot? That's a really good question. Let me quickly look up Spags' age. By the way, those t-shirts in Spags We Trust, where the hell do I get one? I will pay good money for that shit. And please do not comment with a link from those scammy third-party sites, because those websites, I mean, the fact that I even have to explain it, but those are rip-off websites. They will listen. There were Taylor Swift Chiefs shirts in her first game, and people actually have like the screenshot of her at the game. And in the reviews, people are commenting the day after saying these are very good quality t-shirts and they're comfortable. Yet next to it, it says 8 to 10 business days shipping. It's like, man, sadly, a lot of people fall for that shit. But going back to your question, Dallas, so Spags just turned 64 years old. I don't know if a lot of you guys know this, but Spags, his wife had actually not been living in Kansas City. They've actually had a long distant marriage for really ever since Spags has joined the Kansas City Chiefs in 2019. This is her first year living in Kansas City full time. And Chris Jones has mentioned that. And he's mentioned that whenever Chris Jones was asked why this defense is better than the defense in years past, he mentions it's because Spags' wife is here and he's a hell of a lot happier. His wife is happier. And people feel like that has played a huge role. And look, the whole thing with Spags, okay, see, John just beat me to it. Spags isn't a good head coach. Some are just great coordinators. Okay, John stole my thunder here. Everyone wants to be a head coach, but I think at some point you just realize that you just were not cut out to be a head coach. But what you can do is be the best coordinator. And I'll tell you something right now. I think Steve Spagnuolo is the best assistant coach in Chiefs history. And I know the Chiefs have had some really good ones over the years. I think Romeo Crennel wasn't here very long. As a head coach, didn't work out. But as a defensive coordinator, Romeo Crennel, and I stand by this forever. I will fall on this sword or fall on this hill. Romeo Crennel is the reason why guys like Derek Johnson, Justin Houston, and Tamba Hali all elevated their level of play. They all became much better defensive players because of Crennel. Charlie Weiss was only here for 1 year, but in that style of offense that the Chiefs ran, I think Charlie Weiss was terrific. Matt Castle was a Pro Bowler. Dwayne Bowe was a Pro Bowler. Castle was an alternate, but still, like 27 touchdown passes, and 7 picks that year. Really, really good. Your friends in St. Louis drilled this into your brain. Yeah. And again, man, I mean, that's just, he didn't have a good run with the Rams, but that happens. And you kind of realize, like, look at Charlie Weiss. The guy was a head coach twice in the college ranks and failed utterly in those two destinations. I know about the Kansas one because I covered his time in Kansas, his entire time there, from when he was hired all the way to his firing. But he's a fantastic offensive coordinator. Charlie Weiss is a huge reason for Tom Brady's career early on. A lot of people credit him for that. So, look, to answer the question, though, because I know I've been dancing around a lot, I think ultimately Spags would maybe consider it, but he probably enjoys the less amount of work for a defensive coordinator. I'm telling you guys right now, yeah, head coaches get paid a lot, and even assistant coaches, and some of them don't get paid much. I'm telling you guys right now, being an assistant coach is very stressful. You do not get a lot of family time. I mentioned Charlie Weiss. When he was the head coach of Kansas, he said something very interesting to me one time. He said that in the NFL, coaches do not get a lot of time with their families, whereas in the college game, there is actually more time for coaches to spend with their families. And Charlie Weiss was kind of in a weird spot because his wife and daughter, they lived in Florida because his daughter has special needs and they have had a very good school for her in Florida for her to stay at. So Charlie and his son came to Kansas because his son was a grad assistant. And then his wife and daughter stayed in Florida because of her daughter's schooling. So the whole thing with the assistant coaches, I think Spags, being a defensive coordinator is already a lot. And with his wife just recently moving here, he probably wants to spend the rest of his coaching career. He wants to continue to coach, but he wants to not have that level of stress as a head coach and probably just enjoy the rest of his time with his wife and see his kids as much as possible because it is it's not as easy as some people might think. What do you see happening in the offseason? I assume you're talking about the head coaching job. Man, listen, I don't really know. There are a lot of rumors circulating with Belichick and Vrabel coming here. I'll say this right now. If Andy Reid retired, let me back up. Because I'm not dismissing any Andy Reid retirement possibilities. I'm not. I know he said he is not retiring, but what else is he going to say whenever the media asks him about it? Is he really going to say, you guys got me. I'm thinking about retiring? No, of course not. Let me say this. If Vrabel, who I think, by the way, the Titans made a massive mistake firing Vrabel. The fact that Vrabel is still available is weird. The only explanation I can think of is that he wants to be the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm telling you guys right now, if Andy Reid retires and Mike Vrabel is the head coach, I will attempt a backflip and I will fall on my head like a dumbass doing it. But I will be thrilled for Vrabel to be in Kansas City. I'm telling you, you think this defense is good now? If Vrabel's the head coach and Spags is the defensive coordinator, fuck, dude. I do not want to go up against that defensive coaching duo. I would not. I've been praising Mike Vrabel for a very long time. I've been a huge fan of his. I was excited when he came to Kansas City in that Matt Castle trade. But man, I think the Titans made a horrible mistake firing that guy. They're going to regret it. Trust me, they will. And I don't know what Vrabel's going to do. I don't know if he's just waiting for the Chiefs job to open up. I think Belichick might be doing the same thing. Listen, let me just say this about Belichick. If he does come to Kansas City, which I doubt it, that is only worth it if you win the Super Bowl every single year. And look, that's Belichick's time has passed. If you follow the drafts in New England, they have been horrible. Like really, really, really bad. Really bad. I don't know what's going to happen. If Andy Reid does win the Super Bowl this year with the Chiefs in 2 weeks, I will, if I had to give you a percentage, I think there's a 75% chance Andy Reid retires. So I don't know, man. I'm not going to sit here and say he should be retired. That's not my place to speak, but I would be thrilled though if Vrabel came to Kansas City. You think the Chiefs are good now? Just wait. You know what else I would expect? If Vrabel comes here, I could see him bringing Derrick Henry on a very team-friendly contract. Could you imagine Derrick Henry and Isaiah Pacheco together? That would be a lot like Thomas Jones and Jamal Charles in 2010. You guys remember that duo? That would be, and listen, pipe dreams. I know I'm going off the rails here, but I would be ecstatic for Mike Vrabel. So trust me, if that happens, I will go nuts. No coach's success has been so close to tied to a single player ever without TB12. Belichick is a self. This is a fact. This is a fact. This is why a lot of people are praising Andy Reid, because he was winning with McNabb, he was winning with Mike Vick, he was winning with Alex Smith, and he's been winning with Patrick Mahomes. The only difference is, since he has had Patrick Mahomes, he's been winning championships. And listen, he should have won championships before. Just was not on the cards at the time. But now he's winning all the championships. And he didn't need a Tom Brady-esque player like Mahomes to win so much, because he'd been to several AFC title games, or I'm sorry, NFC title games, I should say. So, man, I'm still like crazed that the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. Especially all the people that like doubted us. Yeah, those Eagles teams were good. Like really, really good. I know there's a big debate about whether Donovan McNabb is a Hall of Famer. I don't know. I think the guy gets a lot of hate for his time. Look, obviously, like, who did McNabb go up against during his time in the NFL? Went up against Brady, went up against Manning. Okay, those are two Hall of Famers. Brady will be a Hall of Famer. But, you know, I don't think McNabb was that bad of a player. He just never won the big one. And there are a lot of quarterbacks that haven't won the big one. And I think McNabb will get into the Hall of Fame, but I think it's going to take a very, very, very long time. And I do think it becomes more and more difficult. Like, look at Marty Schottenheimer, for example. Marty Schottenheimer has his name has been in consideration for the Hall of Fame, but unfortunately, his postseason numbers don't really help him. And the more coaches and the more players we have that retire, it just becomes difficult for a guy like Marty Schottenheimer or for a guy like Donovan McNabb to ever get legitimate consideration. Carl Peterson was receiving some consideration for the Hall of Fame, but unfortunately, he never won a Super Bowl here. And listen, I think Carl he gets a lot of credit for revamping the franchise, but unfortunately, with no Super Bowl to show for it, he's probably not going to get in. And the more you have other people retiring, those people will probably get more consideration before he does. So that's just the way it works, man. That's just the way it works. I'll take a couple more questions and then I'll get out of here. By the way, since I have everyone here, I keep posting this because I do need people to subscribe, please. So I just commented, that is the Chiefs Zone YouTube channel. I'm going to start putting a lot of video content out there on the Chiefs Zone's Facebook page. So, oh yeah, Brett Favre is another good one, Michael. Thank you. Forgot about him. Please subscribe to the YouTube, the Chiefs Zone YouTube channel, because I'm going to start posting video content on there. I've already started posting some video content on there. So if you guys would, please subscribe to that, because I don't want to be uploading videos for no one to be able to watch. I definitely need to see more of that. Okay. By the way, in the chat, I'm seeing a lot of people debate about Chris Jones and L'Jarius Sneed. Look, I'll just say this about Chris Jones, and I think Sandy said this, that he was clearly tired. It was kind of slow in the second half. I think Chris Jones did some good things in this game, but he's going to cost you a lot of money, man. He's just going to cost you a lot. Whereas with L'Jarius Sneed, you got L'Jarius Sneed earned a contract today. Like, if there was a time to re-sign L'Jarius Sneed, it is tonight. Do it before the Super Bowl, man. Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, those guys deserve contract extensions. And then I know they didn't play very well. Trey Smith with the back-to-back holds, one of them nullifying a touchdown, and then Creed Humphrey. Creed Humphrey had a lot of low snaps. I didn't mention that on the podcast today, but Creed Humphrey had a lot of the low snaps today. So, listen, Chris Jones, letting him walk would allow you to be able to extend and re-sign a couple of other key players, guys like Sneed, Humphrey, Smith, maybe Nick Bolton. I don't think Nick Bolton played the best game today, but you got a chance to keep him ultimately. So I'll leave you guys with that. Okay, guys. The Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. I cannot stop saying that. It just gets more and more sweeter every year. The more you do it, it just gets better. It really does. Okay, guys. My name is Farzin Vasugian. Thank you all for watching me tonight. Thank you all for joining me for the podcast earlier today. I'm out of here. If you're going to go out and party, be responsible, be safe, enjoy the night. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a Super Bowl to talk about. This Wednesday, there will be a Chiefs Zone podcast live at 7 p.m. Central Time. Join me for that. I'll talk to you then. Peace out.